What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 106 of the RXP podcast, the podcast where we talk all about our love for movies, TV shows, and especially today, video games. I am your host. My name is Matt, and I am joined by Tiffany.
Hello. Video games are great.
Alex.
2024 was a good year for gaming.
And Yasser.
My co-hosts are going to be very angry with me today, and it's not only because I was an hour late.
We just need to let them see, the anger, and then they can fill in the gaps of where it's coming from. So 2024, it's in the books. Everybody go check out episode 105. It was a great talk. We talked all about non-gaming experiences. We talked about things we did in real life. We talked about some movies. We talked about some TV shows. Well, guess what? All that punted. That was the sound of my foot punting those to the curb because we're talking about gaming now. This is peak gaming time. Okay, first thing on the top of your mind, a tier list, D, C, B, A, and S. Yasser, how would you rate this year in gaming? Go.
Wait, what?
I can go.
Tiffany,
you go.
My personal year in gaming, I'm going to give it a B because...
A B tier. Alex.
Oh, we're great.
Tier list.
Personal, S. This is an S
Yep.
tier.
S. Yasser.
B.
B. Ooh, okay. All right, now you can explain B, the B squad. Why you say B?
So I'm going to say B for myself because I didn't do... This might be my second lowest gaming year that I've had in the last decade.
Oh man, this is going to be a good talk.
And you
Yeah.
still have a B?
Yeah, because the games I played were great.
Okay.
Listen, we don't even talk about the
Okay,
worst
okay.
year.
Yeah.
Yasser, why is it a B for you?
Well, honestly, I had some lofty goals for how many games I was going to play this year.
Uh-huh.
And I don't feel like I quite met them, but the games I played were a great time in general. And so that's why it's kind of middling in that sense.
Okay. Alex, S tier. Tell me about it.
Yeah, S tier. I mean, this, growing up, part of the reason I really got into games were RPGs. Obviously, Matt, as we all very well, Kingdom Hearts, Tiffany's attraction to that PS2 advertisement for it being on there and being part of the reason we even got a console in the first place. And so that being also one of my first introductions into RPGs in general. And this year, looking back, I just played so many RPGs, all of them, fantastic to varying degrees, in various ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, harkening back to my introduction into gaming as a hobby in general, it's just been a great kind of nostalgia trip.
Excellent. I would also give this an S tier. This is
Wow.
a year
S tier.
for me.
Two
I
S's.
think for me, I have not given as many 10 out of 10s
Okay.
than I did this year. And a lot of that
that's
is
fair.
these are not even games that came out this year too. This is also games that are new to me. Some of them are recommendations that you all gave me that I gave a 10 out of 10. There are other things that have always been on my list that I gave 10 out of 10s. There are games that came out this year that were 10 out of 10. There are games I didn't even expect to happen this year that I gave a 10 out of 10 of. So I feel like every step of the way, I was always playing a game that was one of the best in my mind. So I don't know what happened. And I don't even think 2 years ago, I played twice as many games as this. I think I played just as many games as I did last year, 18 to 20 games, somewhere in that realm. But man, these are way different. I think last year I didn't have a 10 out of 10 experience until Alan Wake 2. And then I was like, oh, good.
I finally
Alan's
found
here.
it.
I
Yeah.
finally have my goatee.
My friend
This year,
Alan.
I had a 10 out of 10, the first month. In January, I had a 10 out of 10 experience, and I literally logged a 10 out of 10 experience in my IGN playlist just last week. So it's been a wild year. It's been a wild year, which is tough when we have to narrow this down to 3. But that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about our top 3 gaming experiences minus potentially whatever Yasser's going to do. The rest of
Yeah.
us are going to have 3 individual games that we're going to talk about. And then maybe we'll, if we have some time, we will talk about some honorable mentions because this is a good year. So let's just celebrate. Let's enjoy this. There's a no pissy zone. We're just going to, talk and have
Pissy
fun.
zone.
And we're not going to trash any of these games because these games are great. It's a great, great year. Who wants to start?
I'm gonna start.
I was just Tiffany. I was
because I'm pretty
I was
sure
making
I
eye
have.
contact with you through the
Yeah.
webcam.
I think that my list is gonna be the most controversial.
Oh,
So,
wow.
or most
Is it because
like,
it's your
oddball.
Nintendo in review? It's
No,
basically just that. Oh,
no. Okay, so my number 3. We're starting on number 3, right?
let's go.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Okay, I think everyone's gonna roll their eyes here, but listen. I have played this game every
no.
day since
Oh,
it's been released.
There you
And
go.
it is Pokemon Pocket TCG. Pokemon TCG Pocket.
Nice.
This is my
I
number.
forgot. I
my-
forgot that was a potential.
That is number 3 on my list.
It is
Okay,
indeed a
because
game.
it's a game. It's a mobile. Listen, Marvel Snap was on my game of the year last year. I think I don't even, or the year
a good
before.
point.
I don't
That's a
know.
good
But
point.
Pokemon TCG Pocket, I've been playing it every day since it came out on October 30th, and I love it. The new pack came out this week, the week of we're
Mhm.
recording. Mythical Island is out, and so we have a whole new pack of cards to collect. And I enjoy the card collecting aspect. I enjoy the very baby version of Pokemon card battling in it.
Okay.
I've had a good time with that. I make a deck. I play it out. I like that there's solo missions in it. There's a few decks you can play. They've been fairly good with the content throughout the weeks, where like it feels like every week or so for about 2 weeks there's an event happening that we can work towards. For example, there was one event where the goal was to win 5 games in a row. I actually did that pretty quickly because I had some bomb cards. So thank you to the RNGesus out there.
Pay to win.
But okay, whoa, let's relax.
Oh,
I would probably say the most money I've spent so far in this game would be $60 so far.
Man, that's
Okay.
like a full price title right there.
I mean, that is kind of that. That's where I'm hoping to spend $0 more until next
$0
year.
Okay.
more dollars.
Oh, well, until 2025. I guess that's
Okay,
only like
that's
2
your
weeks
goal.
away, so that's not that much. That's not that far away,
you
but
can do it. Just lock
Um,
lock your phone away.
I'm going to say I won't spend any more money until potentially the next set comes out, which is the end of January. So that's my goal. I don't know, but
End of January.
listen, it's a great time. Yasser downloaded it. Alex downloaded it. Yasser stopped playing it clearly because he's still like level 7 or something. I have no
Listen,
idea.
The
Dang.
great news about this pick is we talked about it for like 40 minutes like 2 episodes ago, right?
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
if
so
you
we don't
want a
have-
full dive
Go to
in,
episode
like, what we
104.
loved about TCG, then that's where you go.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, that's
If you need to find it on YouTube, it's the thumbnail that is literally just
just
Pokemon.
Pokemon. The only thing I want to shout out is that trading comes out soonish, I hope, in the next
Oh,
month
that's
or
gonna
so.
change.
That might
Yeah,
pull me
that's-
back in once
that's pretty
trading
cool.
is back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
want to see how they do that. But yes, you guys, this game has taken over the last 2 months of the year for me, so I love it.
You know, I just want to acknowledge that as a game, right? This is not, spoilers. This is not on my top 3, but I do want to acknowledge as a game that's designed like a mobile game, I think it does it very well, right? Like it's a game that's mostly focused around the collecting aspect. It does have at least, PvP, PvE like battle mode, but it's not something that's like asking you to really put a lot of time into it. So I think
Mm-hmm.
from the design
That's nice, yeah.
perspective, like it is designed to say, hey, you got like 5 minutes, like here, do a match,
Mhm.
and like you can be done with it. There's not a ladder system. You're not really grinding for anything. A lot of it's just kind of, have this installed on your phone, get the little notification. You can open a pack, do it, close it, and be done with it. So I think on that part, it fits the motif of a kind of mobile light game as pretty well.
Yeah, that's very true. I agree with that. I feel like it's very non-intrusive. It respects my time overall, which I definitely appreciate.
Yeah. You put in
Love
as
it.
much or as little as you want.
And I'm going to put 0 of it in my life because I will be
Okay.
addicted to that sort of thing. And I know myself.
You've got to collect them all.
My algorithm,
Yeah.
my Instagram algorithm are people pulling packs, like regular like packs. Like
Yeah.
opening Pokemon cards was like, hey, I paid $300 for it. Let's see how much in the hole I am. And it's
Yeah.
like I am $289 in the hole after that pack. That's the amount that I want to invest in that. Well, that's awesome, Tiffany. I'm glad that resonates so much with you. Alex, it's not in your top 3. What is your number 3 pick?
All right, number 3. This one, best multiplayer game at the Game Awards, and that is Helldivers 2.
Whoa.
Nice.
And, I've
Love
talked
that.
about this on previous episodes of the pod, but to just kind of
Mhm.
briefly go over it, kind of the main reason I really have enjoyed Helldivers 2 is how well it's made a transition from the first iteration to being a sequel. With the perspective change, right? It's now a third-person shooter instead of a twin-stick shooter. And it still manages to retain all the same vibes, like all the same design elements that were present in the first version of the game. And I feel like it's very rare when games decide to take, especially a camera change, that they kind of hold on to the same spirit. I feel like there's very few things. Stuff like Mario, I feel, does a very good job, right, going in between 2D and 3D Marios. And more similarly, I feel like God of War has done a pretty good job, right? Going from even though it's still third person in a way, it was more so isometric kind of when it was a fully action game on the PS2. And then when they switched, over to the reboot version, it became that over the shoulder third person action. So I think Helldivers made the similar leap, right? It got the budget bump, it looks better, feels better, or feels the same, if not better, because of the perspective change. And for a multiplayer game, it's just the type of multiplayer game that I'm kind of mostly into now, right? Which is similarly like kind of Pokemon TCG Pocket in a way, very light, right? Like this isn't a game you need to constantly grind. You can play however many missions you want. You can turn up the difficulty as much as you want. So there's not necessarily any kind of bespoke design to force you to make things harder than you want it to be.
Mhm.
And with the kind of unique aspect, right, that the multiplayer is designed around this dungeon master like overworld where everyone's kind of cooperating together to affect the larger kind of course of the game online, which is something that I feel should matter more, right? Like if you have these kind of co-op type games, that is probably my biggest attractor. That's how you'll get me interested, is if there's that kind of bigger, more influential type of story going on, because I feel like that brings you more into it, right? Obviously, with how Helldivers is designed story-wise, it makes sense, right? It's all for managed democracy. It's all for the glory of Super Earth. And it just makes sense, right? And you see the propaganda videos, and it's just a great farce and everything. And so ultimately, it's just one of those games where I'm like, I'm glad people in mass got to enjoy it now, right? Because Helldivers 1 was very much a niche release, right? It's very low, like smaller budget, and it wasn't that well known, but now it kind of reached the masses, right? And it managed to win multiplayer game of the year, so I think that says something.
I've never been involved in a bigger zeitgeist this year than Helldivers 2. Like that time when everybody was like, the Reddit was popping off. People are like, please, we need your help. Please come to this planet. Like it is wild of like, hey, we're losing this planet, guys. We need to push these planets and get rid of this force that's happening. And then like people speculating about like a third race that was happening, and then I guess now is happening actually. I think that the community management of Helldivers 2 was like masterclass. Like that they just monitored and marketed this like overall lore over the first couple months such a way that like I've never seen a rollout that successful in my mind. Like it was so good. Like I was cheering for everything that was happening. I do want to get back to it because I still need to get a platinum for it before the year's out. And I'm excited to get back to it because I'm sure it's completely changed.
One of my new coworkers literally bought another PlayStation 5 in order to play Helldivers with her husband.
Whoa, that's
Like,
huge.
yes, her husband and then like her brother, like they were like hell diving like when
Yeah.
that game came out.
For Super
earlier
Earth,
this
of
year.
course.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for democracy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's right.
totally I love this pick, Alex. I agree with Matt. I feel like the way they rolled it out and their community management of like how they attracted people to this game was top notch. It was so good, in fact, that people literally couldn't get in to the game because the servers were overloaded for hours
Yeah.
at a time, and people would stay in the game idled so they didn't have to worry about it when they came back. Like there was some crazy stuff going on at launch.
That is true.
And
I forgot about
so,
that.
It got rocky a little bit after launch, and then they've kind of circled it back around, and now people are playing Helldivers 2 at like large amounts all over again. So it's a great game. It actually was one that I thought was going to be in my top 3, but it ended up being in the highest honorable mention.
Nice.
But great experience. I loved my time with it as well. And it was the game that Alex recommended for me.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I remember I was playing
Yeah.
Prince of Persia, and you guys were like, "Hey, you should come play this with us." And I was like, "But I'm almost done." And you're like, "No, you should come play this with us." And then I'm so glad I did because it was awesome. I don't have too much left to do on the plot. I'm really excited to get back to it because I'm sure it's just a completely different game. I'm so
Yeah, it doesn't
so
seem like
stoked.
they made the plat too difficult, right?
I don't- it seems reasonable. You got the plat, Alex.
Yeah,
What was the hardest one?
I'm not sure if they changed some things, which might make some of the trophies a little bit more difficult now, because I know that there
Oh.
were some design changes to some of the mission types. But besides
Oh.
that, yeah, overall, I think as long as you have a squad, right, I think it's all very doable. So, doing the achievements with intention, I think, is within
Yeah.
grasp.
You
Keep your
have me and
phones on,
Alex whenever you
guys.
need us.
Yeah, keep your phones on the next few weeks. Yes. You said this is one of your honorable mentions. What's your number 3
Yeah.
game? Question mark.
Game category, game
Listen,
entourage.
Bunch of games.
This
Yeah.
this episode in general is just very difficult for me. One because
Unbelievable.
I
As
know,
if it's not
I know.
difficult
Man.
for the
I
rest
know.
of us. I was
of
fighting
all-
for more games, and you're like, no, there's 4 of us. There's 4 of us. It's going to be 3 each.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what are you
Listen,
doing to me? What are you doing?
I'm
to me?
still
Go ahead and tell
doing
me.
3, Matt. Okay.
3 times 3.
No. I'm saying just 3 total. 3 total. 3
Okay,
total.
okay.
We're still doing 3 total. But the issue that I have with this episode, at least as far as like how I game, is a lot of the episodes that I've listened to over the years that you guys have done, they really have like a large focus on the games that came out this year, right? And so like
Yeah.
number 1, right off the bat, that's not going to be the case for me because a lot of the games that I play from year to year are not games that came out this year.
Yep.
So that's number 1. And then number 2, a lot of the times I put in the most hours into games that I don't think are 10 out of 10. If that
Yeah,
makes
that's fair.
sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mhm.
Where I want to make sure that I'm recommending those games, even though I don't necessarily think they're the best of the year or the best of the best I've ever played, because they really did shape my gaming experience for 2024.
Yeah.
And so the first game that I'm bringing up, so my number 3 game, is my best PvP experience of the year. And so for those that don't know, PvP means person versus person, or just multiplayer game where you play against other people. And so that award goes to Black Ops 6 this year. And so that was a really
Ooh.
interesting one that I actually didn't see coming.
Wow.
Because I haven't played Call of Duty in years now at this point. Like this is a reemergence of a Call of Duty gameplay that I just didn't think was actually going to happen. But between the excellent multiplayer that they had and the zombies that they also included, it was actually a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to play with friends. But also you just got to be prepared to sweat if you're playing multiplayer. That's just part of the name of the game. So if you're not about that,
Crouch
life
around
anymore,
corners.
like Matt, like I understand. I haven't asked him to play.
It's
But,
true.
It was honestly, it's been a great experience. It was actually my most played game in November. And so I had to put it on the list.
Respect.
I would be down for some zombies because I think my time with PvP, I'm not enjoying it as much, right? Like I'm not enjoying it. But something like Helldivers, where it's like, working as a group against an enemy that's like an AI enemy, man,
Yeah.
For
chef's
super.
kiss. So zombies, I'd be down for that.
Zombies is on the table. Okay. I will reach out. We will discuss.
I'm also.
I think on our oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I want to say I'm also very lapsed in my Call of Duty years. I remember grinding Modern Warfare 2, the original, not the rebooted Modern Warfare 2, a lot right during high school, and reaching 10th prestige level 70, like getting all the camos and everything. But the last Call of Duty I played was actually Black Ops 4. And so it's been a while for me as well. And looking at 6, I was like, man, it's return. It's Black. Like I like Black Ops more than the Modern Warfare series, especially with the storyline and everything in the single player. But at the same time, I'm in Matt's boat as well, where I'm just not that dedicated to like commit to PvP at this point in my gaming career. So I'm kind of like, well, if the majority of the fun is in the PvP, it's kind of like, how much do I get out of this? I'll get some fun, right? Like with the single player campaign and the zombies mode, but then I lose like a significant chunk, right? Because I know PvP at this point is very like integral to the COD experience.
Yeah, honestly, I totally think I empathize for that. To be honest, because I hadn't played the multiplayer in so long, I don't feel like I would have purchased it, knowing that like it's been so long, and like you guys said, there's a lot going on with COD and how twitchy it is. But because it was on Game Pass, it made it really easy for me to at least try it and see if I liked it. And I ended up liking it, and a lot of my friends ended up buying it either through Game Pass or outside of Game Pass on Steam and whatever else. And so that made it a lot easier for me to say like, hey, if I play this for 1 month or one match and I don't like it, that's fine because I didn't have to buy it for $70.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But if I do end up enjoying it,
Microsoft.
then hey, I have another multiplayer game to play. And fortunately, it was the latter. But I still haven't even played the story mode, which a friend of mine did play, and he said he really liked it as a Black Ops veteran. So maybe you got to look out for a discount in the future.
Yeah, I've only heard really good things for it. Like I've had friends that have played the story, just played the story, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that was one of the better Call of Duties." They had Game Pass, so they're just like, "No, like I played the story, got it out, and it was awesome. Like can't wait for the next one." And I feel like
wake me up on the next sequel.
I know. I feel like Call of Duty has been like such in a downward spiral recently, so I'm kind of happy for them because Modern Warfare 2 was like Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 especially. I played so much out of them.
The original Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3.
Yes,
right?
yes, that's right. So I'm happy for them. I'm happy, and I do like that I have access to it on Game Pass. I just haven't gotten there yet. All right, my number 3. Like I said, many of these games, actually all 3 of the games that I'm talking about, 10 out of 10 in my mind. These are amazing games, masterpiece games. These don't necessarily mean they're perfect, but I think that these are masterclass for whatever genre that they're coming from. I am kind of all over the place with the genres that I played. A lot of the games that I have played this year, I have had 3 games that I've played like over 110 hours each on them. And this is one of those games. This is one of those games that it's 100 plus hours for me. And it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It is something that defined the earlier stage of this year. It's my favorite open world experience that I've had since Elden Ring, which was my game of the year that year. I am not an open world guy. I am not someone where there is a ton of crap to do and I'm just going to like get lost in it and enjoy it. Usually what happens is I get burnt out and I leave it and I don't come back to it ever. But something kept me in it and I love this game. I adore this game. I don't know if it's the sound design, the music. I really envy you guys for going to the orchestration of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because I honestly, seriously, I have listened to the soundtrack after the fact. I think it's the best soundtrack ever. Question mark? Like
Whoa.
I think
Whoa.
that this is probably my favorite soundtrack of any game ever. And I think I've never been so emotionally tied to something that I have no nostalgia for. I am usually like such a simpleton when it comes to nostalgia. You put a little Sly Cooper, Thievius Raccoonus, do nothing to the controls or
Oh.
the graphics.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a 10 out of 10 experience. All right. But this, I have not played Final Fantasy VII. I only played Remake because it was on Alex's top recommendation of that year. The year that he gave, I think it's
We
third
don't-
or fourth.
we don't
Or
have
no,
to
it's like a
talk
second
about-
place to JRPGs.
JRPGs. Yeah.
We don't have to talk
And then
about
he
that.
went around and said, "Oh, but specifically this one RPG is my number one." I went and played Remake because of that recommendation, and I loved it. And so being there on the ground floor when it came out and playing it and just loving this game, I just really liked. This week, I booted it up for the first time since I beat it and just walked around in that world. I was in Costa del Sol, and I was riding around a little Segway, and just like the music and everything about it,
It's like
just
the
like
best segue of the
I
year.
welled up like all this emotion, like of things that I played for 110 hours. And I just really love this game. I think the characters are next level, and this is not anything new. The people that played Final Fantasy VII, like these are the same characters that they grew up with. And coming this late into my life to play it, I'm like, man, this is awesome. I just really am enjoying this trilogy. Can't wait to see what they do with the third one. But definitely have plans to beat it on hard mode and get that platinum eventually. But one of my best experiences this year, could not recommend it enough. At least go listen to the soundtrack because it's awesome.
Yeah, once you hear the bow wow wow, that's all it takes, right?
Ooh, oh man, the first side quest that had the bow wow wow, like the remix bow wow wow music, I was like, this is crazy for a side quest that they're going this hard on the music. It's just awesome.
Did you play that on Portal mostly, Matt, or was this pre-Portal?
It was mostly pre-Portal.
Okay.
I didn't play.
Portal.
I don't think any of it on Portal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like even then, I booted up on just like on the TV. I
That makes
feel
your
like some of
PS
it might be
wrap-
fine.
that makes your PS wrap up make a little bit more sense because I forgot that Portal didn't exist in the beginning of 2024.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously, I don't have as much context on some of these inside jokes that you're mentioning, but I'm curious, like from the perspective of someone who does get bogged down from open worlds, what do you think like was the magic sauce for this game that made it so you didn't feel that way? Was it just because everything else was so good, or was it something in specific that you felt like helped the game?
I think honestly, I think my favorite part about Final Fantasy VII in general are the party members, like the friends you meet along the way.
Yeah.
And that seems like a cop-out answer, or I'm just like quoting Kingdom Hearts 3, but I'm serious about it. It's one of those things where a lot of the side quests, where there are many, and some of them are great, and some of them are maybe not so great. The really fun part about it is you generally have a companion that is kind of like, it's their side quest. Like they are kind of like the person that you're talking to as you do it. And I fell in love with this party that I didn't care if it was Red 13 or Aerith or Tifa or Barrett or anyone in between. Like I was interested every step of the way of like, oh, cool, it's Barrett this time. Like maybe I get to peek into his life and like hear what he thinks about all this situation. I don't think I've met as compelling of a cast as this. And like I know this is like old news for people that grew up with this in the 90s. Like but I think that is the secret sauce that kind of kept me going. It wasn't just Cloud, because Cloud's kind of a loser. Like he's just like
he's like a male
brooding,
Mary Sue.
silent. It's just, silent, brooding, stoic type. He doesn't have too much personality, but everyone
Yeah.
around him has such a personality that the side quests just flow so well.
Gotcha.
I really, really enjoyed it.
I need to get to that.
It's really fun, and it's beautiful. It's really great. I don't know if have you booted this up, Alex, on PS5 Pro? Like I don't know how much better it looks, but I still think it looks really awesome. And with it, like has an awesome soundtrack every biome that you go in. All the biomes are way different, and I feel like compared to Remake, where Remake was very much just a Midgar, it was you're in this city, which was awesome, in different parts of the city, sure, but now you're in a desert, you're in a rainforest, you're still in a city or in a small town. Like, it just opened this world to me that I'm like, I remember texting Alex and was like, should I play Final Fantasy VII now? Like, should I play the whole thing? Because I just wanted to be in this story more. So I also played Crisis Core this year. I think I just had like a Final Fantasy VII renaissance. Like, it was the first game I played was Crisis Core this year, and then going straight into Rebirth. I just feel like I lived and breathed this for the first half of the year. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, I haven't had the chance to natively boot it up on the Pro, but I have seen footage. Definitely a lot of the like lack of visuals in performance mode are cleared up, so it's like you get quality level visuals while running at 60 FPS. So there is a major benefit to playing it on the Pro mode if you have a Pro to play it on. But yeah, no, I mean, overall, despite that, right, like I played on performance mode the whole time, and I did toggle in between. I did notice kind of the massive kind of blurriness that would appear between the two. But besides that, even playing the whole thing on performance mode, like it is a game that is almost a wonder of how they were able to make this in 4 years. Because, right, like Remake came out in 2020, like basically at the start of the pandemic. And so during this whole like pandemic time, like up until its release in February of this year, right, they were just working on this. And I'm like, how did you condense this much content into this short of a dev time? And I'm thinking forward even to the future, right, for part 3. And not to say that there's as much content or there will be as much as Rebirth. There's still a good chunk of the story that they haven't done, and just a good amount of the things to do that they didn't include in this, where I'm like, man, they have gone on record. The director said they are fully focused on incorporating the airship. Spoilers, you do get an airship. So they will work on making sure that that's incorporated into the world effectively. So I think even pushing it with the part 3, they'll continue to kind of expand on what it means to be with this party, right? Especially with a couple of characters that don't necessarily join you now, but will join you in the future, and live in this world even more, right? And kind of create a more convincing way of saying, listen, we, just like with Remake, we heard some of your complaints, right? The aerial combat, not great. The obviously degree of freedom, not that great, right? But a lot of these are probably due to the constraints of the first part being in one city. And with part 2, right, they've really broadened it out. You know, they smoothed out the aerial combat. They made, right, like they turned to this open zone system where there's a lot more freedom of expression of where you want to go, when you want to do things. And so hopefully that continues with part 3, where they continue to get that feedback and that kind of smooths out. But yeah, I mean, surprisingly, spoilers, this isn't in my top 3. But I
was wondering if it would,
no,
if it wouldn't be.
Yeah. I do want to shout out though, like it was a close call, and there are so many things it does right. But as you pointed out, there are a few things that really kind of grind the gears a little bit, which may have been enough to kind of knock it out of that top 3 pole position for me. So, but we'll see, you know, when we get there, what were the games to overcome it. But yeah, shout out to Rebirth. You know, it's on sale now. It's coming to PC in 2025. So if you don't have a PS5, you can just play it on PC, max out those settings with your 4090s, you know, and enjoy the glory that is FF7.
Great game. Could not recommend more. Tiffany, number 2.
My number 2 is the most Tiffany game on my list.
Pokemon TCG.
No, it's not. That's not my number 2. But so I think that I have a soft spot for League of Legends, and so my number 2 game is Bandle City, a League of Legends story. Or Bandle Tale. Oh my god.
I was like, is that the name?
No, it's called Bandle Tale, a League of Legends story.
Okay.
So it is a cozy game. I was a little Yordle character. I was a little creature that basically would travel among worlds and make crafts and fish, and I had a backpack house thing that I could also craft things. I just every
This
cozy.
sounds like a very Tiffany game.
Yes,
So it's
it
like
was.
Fantastic Beasts, you know, you
Like
travel with your house
Tiffany,
with
and
you.
there's a backpack.
Yes,
for
yeah, my suitcase.
crafting.
I'm crafting. I had to earn.
Are there
I-
outfits?
There are no that no.
Oh.
There's
You
the
gotta,
outfit.
you gotta
Maybe
play
the
Infinity
DLC.
Nikki for that, Matt.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't even talk to me about. I was real tempted to try that, but anyway. So yeah, just very cozy farming element. Well, actually, no, you didn't. Well, no, there's some farming elements. It's just the coziest game ever, and art was pretty cute. A little bit pixelated, but not like it. To me, I thought it was very pretty. I liked it a lot, even though it was slightly pixelated and everything. You don't need to know League of Legends to enjoy this game, but it helps if you do. And I had a great time with it. Loved it. That was my number 2 game. I did not
Love it.
finish it, though. I think I'm like an hour or 2 away from like finishing it. But man, I went hard on the crafting and like maxing out my resources. You kind of burn yourself out sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Are you gonna finish it before the year's out?
Debatable.
You're doing some traveling. You're playing on
That's
Switch,
true.
right?
That's true. Yes, I am playing on
Okay.
Switch.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
But we'll keep the
I believe in
options
you.
open. Thank you.
I have a question. So I'm not sure if you already mentioned this, but what platform did you end up playing it on?
Oh, I played on Switch because I think it's only on Switch.
It's only on Switch. Okay, that was gonna
Yeah.
be my follow-up question.
Yeah, only on
Okay.
Switch. It would have been nice to play it on PlayStation for the trophies, but like I didn't know when that was happening. And to be honest, Riot Forge shut down, so like it's not gonna go anywhere else. So
Is that the
Oh.
devs that made it?
yeah, or are they the publisher?
Yeah,
They might.
it was Riot's publishing branch, so
I see.
they're kind of done with the, I think, console space at this point.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
And honestly, I just have to say that it was a great tide over until we get that next new Animal Crossing game with the Switch 2. So get
is
ready,
that coming
you guys.
next year? You think? You think there's
Honest-
gonna be Animal Crossing?
Absolutely not.
Wait, how dare you?
I think
How-
it could be awesome.
I think
Maybe
that
they just don't want to get in the way of Odyssey 2.
that's also true. I could see them postponing it, but man, I could really use a new Animal Crossing right about now.
Wait, Alex, why are you so sure that it doesn't come out next year?
Well, so
This
they,
is coming from the guy who is like sure that Spider-Verse is coming out this year and Silk Song was.
you
coming out
gotta
this year.
believe, Yasser, you know.
Gotta believe.
I
But
mean,
you don't believe in Animal Crossing?
Are you not a fan of Stanley? Are you not a true believer, Yasser?
Oh my god.
No, with Animal Crossing, so the mobile version just went offline and they created actually a complete edition of it, which you can purchase a la carte. And it's basically the version of the mobile game, but without the microtransactions. And so I feel like the only reason they would have gone through the investment to make a offline version of that is if that's meant to be the thing to tide people over to until the next full version comes out. So I think they've bought themselves some time with there is a version, quote unquote, new version of Animal Crossing to play right now. It's just on your
Interesting.
phone.
Okay, fair enough. Tiffany, have you played this version?
Yes, when Animal Crossing Pocket Camp came out in like I can't even I remember I started playing it on Thanksgiving Day, the year it came out. I played that literally every day for like 6 months. And then I went abroad and like my time got jacked up because there was a lot of time countdown clocks or whatever in the game. You know, Yasser, when you're like
As is a
crafting
mobile
furniture
game, you know.
and like
okay,
you're
I
like,
see.
oh,
Yeah.
crafting
Game
this
timers.
chair is going to
I hate
take
that.
2 hours. And then like I was on a plane, so then I like couldn't earn my stuff or like turn the timers back on. You know what I mean? Like it was just all
That's the
That was
worst.
it
terrible.
ruined everything because I was like, I'm missing 3 pieces of this set and
Is
everything's
this
ruined.
complete edition going to have that stupid system if it doesn't have microtransactions? Because
I don't know.
you could like pay money to like get the timer away. That's like the point, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it could be like
You
real
should go
Animal
retire
Crossing.
Pokemon TCG and pick
How
up Animal Crossing. That
dare
could be a
you.
2025 game.
No.
Yeah,
Let's
wait until
not-
January 1st.
We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
All right, Alex, tell us about Animal Crossing Pocket, your number 2 experience.
Oh yeah, the
of
only reason I know
2024.
anything about it is because I lamented the end of service for that. Let me tell you. No. This is another game that got its well-earned respect at the Game Awards this year, 2024, and it's the game that won Game of the Year, of course, and that
Oh,
is
Okay.
Astrobot,
wow. Okay, nice.
My
Thanks,
number
it's for
2.
citing.
And yeah, I mean,
Love it.
it's like very simple to just explain this. It just right, and the director of the dev studio Team Asobi, Nicholas Doucet, talked about it when he accepted the award. And right, this is just pure fun. You know, this is a platformer designed
Yeah.
inspired by the king of all platformers, that is Mario. And it's just a realization of saying, right, like there's a reason why when the mainline Mario games come out every few years, they typically win Game of the Year, right? Is because they are amazing, fantastic games. Like the only reason I bought a Nintendo Switch in the launch year was because later that year they came out with Mario Odyssey. And I got to demo that at E3 that year, and that was what convinced me to say, hey, the Switch is worth it just for this, right? Like, I'm not a Zelda guy, so Breath of the Wild didn't interest me, but Mario easily convinced me. And so, in a similar way to how great Mario is in its simplicity in some cases, but also just how tight it is and how just pure fun it is to play the game, Astrobot's the same exact way, right? Like, there's not a lot of frills to this. You know, you got your handful of worlds, right? In this case, galaxies. Every galaxy has, 7 to 10 levels in it. You go through, you have a great time, you move on. And on top of that, right, this game is a celebration of PlayStation nostalgia. So having all the cameos in there is just great to see. And in terms of just as a game, it's something that, right, like this came out at $60, it's not pushing that $70 price point, but it feels good. Like just when you buy it and play it, there's like no remorse in it. Like anytime I was playing it, there wasn't like, oh, why'd I buy this now? Or right, like this thing is well polished, the music's there, it feels good to play. And so it's just one of those things where it's like, once you've played it, even from the first 10 minutes, there's like no regret of having made the purchase. And I feel like it's very rare where I'm like playing a game and it convinces me that quickly of like, yes, this was worth spending the money to enjoy this experience.
Such a fun game. I loved it. It was a really great time.
Astrobot.
That felt like you were reading off of a script.
I gave her a teleprompter in preparation for this pick.
All right, please wrap it up.
Please wrap it up. This is a great pick. Astrobot is. I was really happy to see that it won Game of the Year because I think it's super well deserving. I just felt like a kid again playing that game. Like it was one of those things where I love platformers. Platformers are probably like, if I have to define myself by one thing, I feel like platformers is like my bag. Like I will play hard platformers and really enjoy it. And I just think it did a really good job. Like there was nothing offensive about it. Like it was just fun. Like there was nothing, it was paced perfectly well. I think that it did a lot of really inventive things and it didn't overstay its welcome. Like it had just enough stages and got in, got out. I felt great and refreshed and I didn't feel like I needed a palate cleanser. Like this is the perfect palate cleanser. You could come off a long game, you could come off a short game, didn't matter. It met you where it's at, and it was an awesome experience the whole way through. So, great pick.
Yeah, honestly, I love the fact that like this is how people explain it, is it's just a fun game, because that's really what we need more of, I feel, is just genuinely fun games that doesn't ask you to do too much. And honestly, I love that Astrobot won Game of the Year as someone who it's like not really a game for me. It's something I mentioned in a previous episode, but I love that it won Game of the Year because we do need more games that are just genuinely fun. And there doesn't need to be like a qualification for Game of the Year as far as like how big it needs to be or how much it needs to sell. It really just needs to be something that moves the industry forward and is fun to play. And I'm glad that there was some weird comments that came out after that happened, and I can't disagree with them more.
Oh.
Like as far as like, is it deserving, or there are other games that should be more deserving?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's just not the way
Haters
to think
gonna
about
hate.
Game of the Year.
I know.
Pocket Camp
I know.
snub.
No.
That's no. Let's not even start that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are you feeling for number 2?
Okay, guys. As I was thinking about number 2, I realized, because I did my best with these 3 games to make them games that like came out this year or recently. And then I just realized, because this was the one game that I couldn't say that until I noticed and remembered that this game came out on PlayStation 5 this year.
Ooh.
So this one is under the category of PvE, or just co-op games, and it is Grounded.
Wow.
Oh.
This is going to be a
nice.
complete throwback for Matt, because I know that
I
we
love
played
it.
it back when it like
Yeah.
first came out, like the before it was fully released. But this is a game that I've put in over 100 hours of just this
Whoa.
year.
This year?
Whoa.
Just this
Oh my
year,
gosh.
and we haven't even beaten it yet. Like that's
Wow.
crazy. As far as like a story based game, I never, one, play games that take this long, and 2, don't enjoy it for this long after playing for over 100 hours. You'd think I'd be sick of it by now, but we
Yeah.
still love every minute of playing it.
Wow.
So this game has come a long way since it was initially released, as I mentioned. It came off as like an early access early on, and then they had a full release, and then more recently, some big updates came through with the coincided with the release of PlayStation, and I think on Switch as well. And it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot like what you guys were saying with Astrobot, as far as it just being a pure fun game. But on top of that, there's just so much depth as far as what they added with your combat abilities, the type of guns that you can use, the types of creatures that you see in this backyard. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, this is like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but into a
Yeah.
video game.
Mhm.
And it's just so much fun. And I feel like the scary part is we probably could end up playing this for another 50 hours before we end up beating it. And I'm a little
Wow.
terrified, because like at what point is it like too much? I don't want it to get stale.
Yeah.
But at this point, I still haven't gotten to that. So it's been a great time. And I felt like because of how many hours I put in, I just had to include it in my top 3.
Can I ask you a question? Because 100 hours seems
Yeah.
crazy long. And, this was back, when was that? Like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe?
Something like
We
that.
played it?
For sure. Yeah, I think
Um,
it was like around 2020.
Which was really fun to play. There was maybe one central quest that we were always working on, and then we were making a base, and
I remember.
I was keeping it organized. I was keeping our base organized, keeping things where we needed it to be, so we can craft some good stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, 100 hours. Like, is there a lot of side things? Like, are there quests that you're doing, or are you kind of making your own fun with this?
So I think there's a lot of that latter piece,
Okay.
where really you can have fun just exploring the game and doing
Yep.
things in the game without having to worry about like, hey, what's my next objective for the storyline? Because it truly does have a storyline now that gets you all the way to the finale. But you don't necessarily need to do it, and it doesn't really like throw it in your face either. Like, hey, do this storyline piece. Hey, do this, do that. Really, a lot of it you kind of learn as you play, and that's kind of what's the tricky part, especially early on when you play the game. It doesn't really teach you much of anything. And so I remember when me and Matt and Gerald, true friend of the show,
Shout out.
we would be like trying to fight these like insects, like this ladybug, and we'd be getting our asses beat like left and right. Like,
Ladybugs
are we supposed to
brutal.
beat this guy? Are we just
Yeah.
bad at the game? Like, do we need to parry better? And these are just things that you figure out like as you play. Like, these things you just need to avoid for now because we're ass. But we come back when we're stronger, have better gear, know what we're doing, and then you kind of like ladybugs now are just like the easiest thing to beat. There are way
Wow.
more complicated things to beat in the forest, or sorry, in the backyard. It feels like a forest, sorry.
In the
So yeah,
grass.
that's the cool
Yeah.
element of it, is like it doesn't teach you or tell you what to do most of the time. And part of that is like you can, at least this is what happened with us. We wasted like maybe 10 hours at a time trying to figure out where to go next. And we just like get lost doing stuff along the way that you like forgot what you were even looking for in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So good and bad as far as like if you're trying to speed run it, you're probably going to have a very different experience. But if you just want to get lost in a cooperative kind of playground, it's such a fun game to do. And it's definitely the most unique like survival game I've played as far as like having to craft things, stay hydrated and stuff like that. The generic things you'd think of for survival games like Rust, for example, it totally flipped on its head for me because typically I don't like survival games, and you have me putting in over 100 hours in this game, so that says something.
It just has a magic touch.
It helps that there's like little water droplets on the leaf or on the grass blades.
Yeah, literally you get the dew in the morning and it helps you stay hydrated as you wake up.
Yeah. I
So fun.
honestly, that was such a fun experience playing that. Like, I'm just not I'm in such a different place right now that it's not something that I would look forward to in the same way, but like still for the maybe 20 hours, maybe that we played, maybe 15, 20 hours.
Yeah.
So much fun. Like the amount of chaos of like just walking down, you're like, oh, there's like this little cave. And then it's like full of spiders and everyone's just freaking out because like we have no armor and we're just like, oh, it's just madness. So madness. I'm really happy that it's done so well though. Like that it's like built so much. 100 hours is a lot. That for
It
survival,
is.
I can't even
That's as
imagine
much
putting
as
that
ads
many
put
hours.
into Rebirth.
I know.
Which is crazy to say, honestly. But it's really helped me get a newfound appreciation for Obsidian because it's not a dev team that I feel like I had a lot of experience with beforehand because I didn't play like Fallout New Vegas, for example, which is
Yeah.
probably their most popular.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Outer Worlds. But now I want to try more of their games. So I'm actually more excited for Avowed than I've ever been.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that's true.
from all I've heard from the previews, it sounds like it's really coming along well. And so I probably wouldn't have played Avowed until I played Grounded because now I know like, hey, these devs, they know how to make a fun game. And that's
Yeah.
obviously more important than a lot of other things, you know?
Oh, there's going to be jank, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun jank. And Outer Worlds 2 got announced for, is it next year?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's also for 2025.
They're cranking them out.
So it's big. Yeah, it's a big year for Obsidian. I think they're one of the best. So I'm really excited for both those. All right, my number 2. This is a game that I did not put that many hours into, but it didn't matter. And I'm not really going to spend that much time talking about it because Alex already has, because it's Astrobot. Astrobot is my number 2 game of the year. I wondered how much overlap we would have with this game because it's kind of like, it's just so like it's food that just like comfort food, and you just eat it and you're like, oh man, why would I eat anything else? Like I don't need anything else. I just need this comfy platformer. I will say this past week, I played the DLC, which like the free,
Rescue
it's
mission?
free DLC.
Yeah.
But basically it's like some speed running things, which a lot of people are going wild on it. But I was just collecting my bots and getting good times on it. Love that formula. But then they also released like a Winter Wonderland stage, which is a whole new stage, and it's a new stage that has all the different power-ups in it, and it's really, really fun. Some of the bots, I'm not going to ruin it because I'm pretty sure the people that have played this have not played this Winter Wonderland, but some of the bots that are in there are ones that I was waiting for. Some of my favorite video game characters of all time, and really my comfort food of like
oh no, the
PS1
sickos are back
generation.
again.
Sly Cooper's pet. No, he was in the main game. But some of the PS1 and 64 generation of like going to Blockbuster, renting a game and renting it over and over and over again, like each night, renting this game to play it because my family wouldn't actually buy this game, so I just kept renting it from Blockbuster. There's a character in there from that game, and I was so happy to see it. But it's there's something about nostalgia. I told you I'm like a nostalgia sicko, right? And
Yeah.
that's why Rebirth was so special, because I didn't have it. And honestly, like, I wasn't part of the PS3 generation. I wasn't part of the PS4 generation. I was not even part of the PS1 generation. I'm in N64. I was an N64 kid. Came for PS2, then pieced out until PS5, and it still hits so well. So I would argue against this being just, oh, this is just fan service for people who have been in the Sony ecosystem forever. Like, no, this is awesome. Like, it's a great platformer, and you get to see Sly Cooper, and my Astrobot is dressed like Sly Cooper. And
what more could you ask for?
What more could you ask for? But really slick controls. I played a few levels, and I'm just like, man, this feels as it should. Like, when I jump, it jumps the right way for a platformer. Super responsive. The graphics are amazing. And this is one of those games where I was playing a lot on my Portal, and Maddie was watching me play it on the couch, and she's like, that looks like fun. I'd like to play that. She never did, but she was like, that just looks like fun. Like, someone who's not super into gaming was like, man, that looks like a fun video game. Like, some of these other video games you play, maybe not as fun, but this looks like a fun video game. And that's all it is. It's just so much fun.
I feel like Astrobot, more than any game that I could even think of, has to play amazing on the Portal.
It's perfect.
Do you feel like it is the ideal experience for it to be on the Portal, or do you feel like it works regardless?
I think it works regardless. I think it's great on the Portal. It's super snappy still. It just, I really love it. I love the Portal for it. But there is something about having on the big screen and having on the music of it.
Yes.
If Rebirth didn't come out, like, this would be some of my favorite music of the year, because it is fun. It's fun stuff.
I might need to check out the new levels on the Portal.
Yeah, you
You have
should.
a Portal now.
Yes.
It's one of those
Wait.
things where I did the DLC probably all in an hour. Like,
Okay.
it is not long. It's just one level, and then maybe 6 speed running levels, where, depending upon your time, there's basically 2 birds that go off. One's a fat bird and one's a skinny bird. And the
Yeah.
fat bird is will take its time, and if you beat the fat bird, you get the bot at the end of the round. But if you beat the fast bird, the skinny red bird,
Yeah.
you'll also get another bot. So basically, you have to beat the red bird, and then if you do, you get both Astrobots.
Oh God, that sounds like a nightmare for me.
But no, you can totally do it. Like, it's so much fun. It will remind you. Go play it again, because it'll remind you how awesome some of these power-ups are, and how inventive the gameplay is. It's really, really fun.
There's one level that I was like, I can't do
You're
this.
nightmares about.
Yeah, I was like, I can't.
Oh, the secret level, the hard level.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that final secret level.
it
I
still it doesn't hold a candle to that Knitted Knights challenge from Sackboy.
which I also did not do.
sucked.
Yeah, which I also was like, nope.
The rip
I've-
snorter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played Britney Spears Toxic over and over and over again until I got it. Just help me focus.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Tiffany, number 1 time.
So,
It would be really great if it was Astrobot. Just saying, because
I hope
bang,
it is
bang, bang.
Astrobot.
I mean, can it be anything other than Astrobot?
Let's go.
There we go.
It's freaking Astrobot. It's
Perfect
the best. It's the
segue.
best video game I played all year. Like hands down.
Yeah,
Matt
it's great.
threw a coin to me and helped and convinced me to buy it on release because I
Did I
was,
really? I don't
yeah,
remember that.
you were like, basically I was like, oh, I'll play it after Alex finishes it because he bought the physical version and I can just grab it when he's done because he's probably gonna zoom through it. And then
Right.
everyone was just all the previews were just popping off, and I was like, do I just buy this digitally? And then Matt's like, here's some coinage, just grab it. And so I got it. I played it the weekend it came out. I stayed up till 3 a.m. for 3 days
Yes.
in a row just to play the game because there were, one of the nights I actually had plans, and then I like got back to my apartment and it was like 10:30, and I was like, I still have time. I'm still awake. I can still play some Astrobot. So I haven't stayed up playing a video game in such a long time, or like, that game came out in September, and like the whole year for me has been pretty video game light compared to previous years. But Astrobot really captivated me and motivated me to play it and finish it, and like even sending messages to Alex and Matt when like we caught new bots and stuff, and like try not to, I don't want to spoil, but can I show you what I just got? Like it was such a fun time, and honestly, like the length was perfect for me. I feel like I finished it in a weekend, or like like Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
Maybe
It's a weekend.
Yeah. Well, I was like, wait, does this game come out on a Tuesday? I like couldn't remember. But yeah, I love this game. I recommend it to everyone. I am not a platform girly, and I still had such a great time with this game.
The little like capstone levels where they would put you in the role of a PlayStation exclusive.
Yes.
Like, and these are in trailers, so I'm not like super worried about it, but like God of War and Uncharted, like these are things where you're like wielding the Leviathan axe as Astrobot, and you hear the music
Yes.
of God of War, and you're like, this is amazing. Like, this transcends this game. Like, this is just a celebration of video games I love up to this point. So I just was grinning the entire time I was playing. I played it over an entire week. Like, I really took my time because I just was enjoying each and every bit of it. Like, I was not rushing. I had plans. Unfortunately, like I had plans that weekend, and I was like, "Dang,
should have canceled."
Man, can I pretend to be sick?
I need to go get
but
my
it was,
PS5 CPU back.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, what a fantastic week it was, though. The
love
only
it.
issue was that I wanted more.
Yeah, for
but
me,
honestly,
like,
the length was perfect.
The moment I put it away, even when I had a glitch trophy in my run. I couldn't do the last secret level, but I still was like, this is my game of the year. Like, nothing will change this. Like, this is absolutely 100% my game of the year. And I'm so glad that so many other people agreed with me and picked it at the Game Awards.
I mean, that's how you know that a game is truly fun, when you're just like smiling the entire time,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Alex, break the Astrobot chain. What's your number one game of this year?
Well, joke's on you. It's Astrobot again.
Let's go. Rescue missions.
No, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's one of the first games I played this year, and it's surprising to.
Is it sitting right behind you right now?
No, it's not.
No, it's
okay.
not.
Okay.
But it is something that, it's a franchise I got into late, right? Like, it's something that's been around, and I wasn't exposed to it when it originally came out.
Okay.
And I decided to pick up later on in life, and now here I am being a lifelong fan. And, of course, it is Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth.
Nice.
And
that has Animal Crossing in it, so technically it's Animal Crossing.
This is my, it got snubbed at the Game Awards, and that's okay.
Yo, I forgot this came out in 2024. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it didn't get any awards there. It came out end of January, like it was literally the beginning of the year, and maybe a lot of people forgot about it, but it did get at least nominated in some categories, so that's great to see. But as a game, right, like a Dragon / Yakuza has grown into this. And I just want, it's very simplistic, for the people that don't understand what it is out there. Just think of it like a condensed Grand Theft Auto, right? Like, this is something that is very much about just kind of being in a town, just doing whatever you want, just kind of going around, beating up people in the streets. That's how they do. And maybe at the same time, you're running around, you're capturing the suspicious people, and you're using them in Pokemon-like battles. Sometimes you're riding the local trolley and you're playing a Pokemon Snap like where you're taking photos of people indecently exposing themselves so you can then report them to the police so they can get captured. And sometimes, you're just hitting up the good old Mahjong parlor and you're just sitting down at a table with 3 old ladies playing some Mahjong and getting your chips taken
Getting
away
hustled?
from you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Unless you're me. Unless you're
unless
me.
you're mad and you bought an app and now you're the master at Rishi Mahjong and now you'll never want for money ever again. But no, like this is a franchise that has really rooted itself in the same way as Astrobot, right? Like figuring out different ways to have fun, and obviously it's gone through some growing pains in terms of, right, like some of the mini games in the past, very, random RNG dependent, right? So you're not necessarily in control of the outcome the whole time, but it's definitely something that's gotten better over time. And with Infinite Wealth, they've continued that. With all the mini games being very controllable, right? Like it's all very skill based. Heck, even there's a Uber Eats / Pac-Man like mini game, Matt, that you have to look forward to.
Oh,
I'm
that's
not gonna,
fun.
yeah, I'm not gonna explain anymore, but just think of food delivery combined with Pac-Man. Is the simplest way to
You've got my
envision
interest.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm hungry
Literally, Matt was like, huh? Like,
And so
I
yeah,
love both of those things.
yeah, this is a series that's just gone crazy with it every time. And as they say, right, like the studio is also titled the same thing, Like a Dragon. And ultimately, too, this has been a great capstone for the series as well, because, right, we're kind of wrapping up Kiryu, who's been the main protagonist for the majority of the game's story with this one. In some ways, right, there's a lot of callbacks to the original Yakuza, and so this is something that you can play as a sequel or follow-up to Like a Dragon 7, or I guess Yakuza Like a Dragon. And I would recommend, that being the minimum, right? Don't go play this without having played 7 first, but also maybe play 0 and 1 at least as well, because it's really Ichiban's story, who's the protagonist of 7, and Kiryu's story, who's the protagonist of 0 through 6. And so there's a lot of callbacks, and really this has been a culmination for me, right, of this being a turn-based RPG, it taking a lot of inspirations from other RPGs, because it is new for the series. This grew up as a brawler and turned into this RPG is something that's completely different, like with 7. And so they continued it. It takes place in Hawaii. I've never been, but I can only assume they've done a great job in kind of recreating the beaches there of Honolulu and everything. They have I guess it is famous because they do a lot of real crossover. The Matsumoto shaved ice, which I think is a real shaved ice place in Hawaii, is there in the game as well. And so there's a lot of kind of specific callouts there. But just overall, this is similar to Astrobot, a game that I had no regrets, like after booting it up, of playing it. And and maybe Matt has something to attest to this later on, but it's something that is also just a continuation of, if you want soap opera level drama in combination with the most random stuff to do, right? As I shout out, Pac-Man, Mahjong, Pokemon battling, like everything. Like if you are interested in either of those things separately, this is almost certainly the only place you can get them in one spot, like combined. And I think that is just such a hallmark of being such a unique experience, where I'm like, I've never played any other game series that's like this, and I don't think I ever will. And I just want to shout out, RGG Studio. Keep an eye out. Like, this is a studio, if you see their, developer splash art come up on a game, like, you're in for something special.
So I have a lot of questions, Alex. I have played Yakuza 0 now. From your recommendation, from my goal this year, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Sorry, Tiffany.
It's okay.
There's still time.
What a wild, it's not happening. What a wild ride it was. I really, really enjoyed it. We will have a peer review probably into the new year, so keep an eye out on that for our full thoughts on Yakuza 0. I really, really enjoyed it. This is one of the other few games that I did over 100 hours, like 110 hours on a playthrough to get 100% for Yakuza 0. And I enjoyed the entire way. Like, it was amazing and really, really fun, which makes me wonder, like, how much of the rest of the Yakuza series I have to play. And you're telling me I have to play Yakuza 1 and then 7 and then 8 to get to this recommended experience. Is it worth it? And have you ever felt this way? Like, would you say that any of the other past Yakuza or Like a Dragon have been your game of the year?
I would say,
Or is this one truly that special?
I would say that the closest Yakuza has come for me being game of the year is 2. Because still personally,
So you have to play
That's
that
another
one.
one.
yeah, still personally 2 is my favorite of the series, like as a whole. And that's mostly because of the story of 2, right? Like, and I think I've mentioned it on some past episode way back, when we were first starting out recording. But 2 is very much the classic, like, clashing of the Titans type of story, right? Like when having played 0, which is a very brief overview, it is kind of or it is the origin story of Kazuma Kiryu becoming the Dragon of Dojima, like earning that title. And 2 is the embodiment of, is there someone out there to challenge that? And from a storytelling perspective, I really enjoy those types of stories, right? Where it's like you have someone of status, they're well known for something, and you have that upstart / antagonist who's like, I can match it. And there is that driving force of saying, right, like, I'm the person to take you down in a very explicit way. It's like that is the whole arc of 2. And so because of that, it's very hard for any of the other Yakuzas to really amount to that, because they all take such drastic different changes, right? All progressing the same story. This is one continual story, but taking different arcs, right, and focusing on different things. And
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Besides that, I would say 8 being that way that ties up a lot of things, I think is worth it, especially if 0 has any sort of way has supplanted or kind of put itself and rooted itself like in your interests. Like, the genre doesn't change. Like, I think it still hits all the way through. The storytelling is very similar all the way through, so you're never going to be really thrown for a loop if you think you misunderstand something, right? They do a lot of recaps, so it's very easy to kind of keep up with things. And so I would say, bare minimum, to really get the most out of 8, it's 1, 7, and 8. I don't want to say you don't really have to play 2 to enjoy 8. It's just 2 is my favorite. And it's that easy kind of skip over. I would say, though, 3 through 5, very readily skippable. They also haven't fully remade them. They are remasters, so they do look very dated despite the remasters. 6, I would say, is very important leading into 7 with that direct story. But at the same time, I could see you reading up the Wikipedia to get the synopsis. Also, there is a very important interquel story, Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Say that 5 times fast.
Oh no!
And
now we're talking about spin-offs. Oh,
yeah,
no.
That's a direct tie-in to 8. So that would also be somewhat integral, but you can scope over that if you also just want a Wikipedia.
My next question was, 8 is on sale for 50% off right now for the holidays. And I was going to be like, oh, is it worth it for $35? But it sounds like by the time I finish all the prerequisites, it'll
might
probably
be like
cheaper.
$10.
Way cheaper.
So,
Yeah, no, I think you can hold off.
all right.
It would
cool.
definitely be bold of you
I
to
have
just
7.
skip to 8 if you just wanted to just rip it. But at the same time, I'm like, you're going to see things that could also interest you backwards. If, like, let's say you were to play 7 and then you played 8, there are things in 8 that might motivate you more to be like, okay, at least one is definitely a worthwhile trip to go through.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll think about it. I've got a few. I'm starting to think about my goals for next year, and I don't want to be too zealous because it definitely bit me
that's
this
a
year.
few hundred hours journey right there if you're willing to commit to it all, if 0 is any indication.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this game though. Like I've heard, a lot of people kind of one thing that they did kind of trash about Rebirth is that, the quality of side quest and minigames aren't always there. And I do think that even Yakuza 0, which is an older game at this point, yeah, there's higher highs on those not higher highs. I feel like it's just a more consistent maybe floor for Yakuza 0 minigames and side quests compared to Rebirth, but I do feel like the ceiling of Rebirth just like put it over the edge for me in comparison to Yakuza. So I could only imagine they've gotten a lot better with minigames and stories and side stuff leading into it. So I'm very excited. And everything that I've heard other people talk about Yakuza or Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, where it's like all these like Nintendo clones. It's like, no, we've got
Yeah.
Nintendo at home, but
Yeah.
you're like using homeless people instead of Pokemon. Like
Yeah.
that sounds great. That sounds wild. It sounds almost like an SNL skit, but you
Yeah.
got me.
Yeah.
I do think I will play that game at some point in my life. I just don't know when that is. But Yakuza 0 definitely hit me the right way. So great number one pick.
I have a question for you. So, firstly, you're just gonna like put Wukong behind you and like not even be in your top 3. It's messed up. Just that wasn't a question. That was just a comment. Question. Did it like surpass your expectations? Because I feel like this was a game that you had earmarked early on in the year. Do you feel like it just hit those expectations and they were so high that they ended up being number one? Or do you feel like they surpassed it somehow and that's how it got to number one?
Yeah, I think it just nailed it on all fronts. I wouldn't say it exceeded any of my expectations because there are faults with the game. I do want to acknowledge, right? Like some of the classes, not pretty much useless. Like right, being a turn-based RPG, you're gonna get to that point where you're like, oh yeah, a lot of these abilities are great. I love mixing and matching classes, and then some classes you're just like, wow, this just isn't as great as this other class, so why would I ever use it? So I think there's still some work to be done on the RPG aspect in that front, right, in combat. But it's just everything else. Like it's an experience where as much as I enjoy RPGs generally, it really comes down to, right, being a role-playing game, do I enjoy being in the world? And I think, right, I kind of hinted at it when we were talking about Rebirth for Matt's number 3. But there's a segue in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, very much like the segue in Rebirth, except 100 times better. Mostly also because there's an autopilot function, so you can put a dot on the map and your Segway will autopilot you to your
nice.
destination, so you don't have to manually drive it the whole time. But it's just a game that I love just being in that world, right? I love running around. I sent a video to Matt and Tiffany, actually, and I'll send it to you, Yasser, as well later, where it's a game that it's the moment to moment that surprises you because of just how it's designed, right? Like the engine Yakuza is built in is a proprietary engine of the dev studio, so they don't use Unreal, they don't use any kind of off the shelf thing, nothing. I don't think they've licensed the engine out to anything. So basically all the Yakuzas kind of function on this engine that's proprietary to them and doesn't run anything else. And because of that, I feel like you get a lot of interesting experiences where you're like, man, sometimes when you play an Unreal Engine game, you can see, oh yeah, that feels like something that would happen in Unreal. Like all these Unreal Engine games have a similar kind of like flavor to it. But then playing this being a bespoke engine, there's just certain things that happen where you're like, man, this is like unique to this. And I feel like being like running around their version of Hawaii, kind of doing these mini games, doing all the quests, having interactions. Like one of the main gameplay shticks is, right, obviously I guess a stereotype of Hawaiians are that they're very friendly, and so part of the mechanic is when you're running down the street you just say aloha to people and you build bonds with random NPCs that way. And so there's this kind of like communal aspect of like, hey, you can't say aloha while you're riding your Segway, so maybe you should just take a walk about the town. And while you're taking a walk about the town, you're just like aloha to random people on the street. They say aloha back, and you're just building bonds. You're making friends with anybody and everybody.
Oh my god.
Nakama, as is our tradition here on this podcast. And so it's just it is the fact that I love just being in that world more than any other RPG I played this year, I think is really what put it over the top, because it just made it more meaningful to say, listen, right? Like, yes, maybe there have been RPGs with like grander or maybe more aspirational stories, but they didn't execute on the world as well as Yakuza like a Dragon
Gotcha.
Infinite Wealth
Yeah.
did. And so that's really what
Yeah,
made its
that makes
mark.
sense. I do feel like the best RPGs and even like open world RPGs, the ones that can get you invested in a world and like make you feel like you're just in the world and you're just doing things in it and that's just your sandbox. Those are the ones that definitely stick with me. So I definitely can understand their perspective.
All right, Yasser. You've had
Oh, am I
PvP.
next? Oh, I
You've
forgot
had
I'm after
PvE.
Alex. Yep. All
So
right.
is it
Well, that you know what
now
that
Is this
means.
single player
solo?
campaign?
Is this solo?
This is my top solo experience.
Ooh,
And this is
nice.
actually the one game that was like on my radar in the beginning. So it shouldn't be too big of a surprise.
Okay.
But it isn't a game that I talked about very much throughout the year, mainly because it did release fairly late. Or actually, no, it didn't. Actually, but I didn't play it till very late. And so this is a game that while I was playing it, my mouth was just like ajar the whole time. Like we talked about how like we have games where you're just smiling the whole time, and so that's one experience. This game had me just like mind blown the entire time. And I'm talking about Hellblade 2. I played
Ooh,
both
nice.
the first game and the second game this year. I played the first game again just as like a recap of what happened, so that I can like prep myself for the second game. And then I kind of just took a little bit of a lull. Like I knew I was gonna play Hellblade 2, but I was like, you know what? I have other games that I'm playing right now. I'll get to this closer to the holiday season. But both games really do push the boundary as far as like technologies in video games. And I think the two things that stand out are, one, it's audio design, which I think anyone who watched the Game Awards knows like that's a big thing for Hellblade because it won, I think, best audio design as well as best performance. Um, and then on top of that, like literally, I was I was playing the game at certain times and I was shocked by the fact that it was asking me to do something. I thought I was in a cutscene. I was like, oh, wait, I'm
Oh,
going to get attacked
nice.
right now and I can control this player. There were so
Yeah.
many moments like that where I thought I was in a cutscene, but I was actually in gameplay, that it really like, obviously I knew this was going to be a technical showcase for Unreal Engine 5, but it really did blow me away and like exceed my expectations as far as what games like these could actually look like in the future. But like we've said with all of these, I don't think it's a perfect game. There are legit gripes as far as like, is it unique enough in comparison to the first game? Because there were a lot of retreads as far as gameplay and some of the puzzles that you do. And I definitely agree with those. But the way that it like made me feel as I was playing it, especially as like an IT nerd, I love when things like push the boundaries of certain things that you'd expect. The audio design like completely blew me away, and the graphics were like something I've never seen before in a game. So had to put it as the best solo experience, but honestly, I had so many great honorable mentions that I didn't even mention this year. So these are just three of the experiences that I would recommend out of the dozens that I feel like I want to recommend this year.
I have both of those games on my need to play list. Like they are on my backlog, like front and center. I think I even have the first one pre-downloaded on my Xbox. I just haven't gotten to it. Like it is. I know those are definitely games that are fantastic. Is this one? Is it more of the same of the first one, or do you think that this like took a huge leap from the first one now that you've kind of replayed the first one a second time?
So I think gameplay wise, it's more the same as far as like what you do and what you're asked to do. But it just takes it to the next level as far as the technology behind the game, behind the scenes, where you can
Love that.
see why this took so many years to develop, even though it's a short experience and the gameplay doesn't like blow you away. the fact that I thought it was like a tech demo while I was playing it, at least that's how I felt. That to me is like, it's obvious why this took so long. And it actually, the one game that reminded me of it was the trailer that we saw in Game Awards of The Witcher 4, which is also made in Unreal Engine 5. And I remember thinking while I was playing this game, if we could have a game like this be in like an open world concept, and something like The Witcher 4 came to mind, that would be like, that'd be mind blowing. Obviously, no like console could do that right now, but between now and when that actually releases, that would literally blow my mind if they did something similar to this for The Witcher 4. And I mean, the trailer looked amazing, but obviously that wasn't gameplay, so I can't wait to see what CD Projekt Red does. But that could be like, 5 to 7 years away.
I'm ready to play it. I've already added it to my IGN playlist. Needs to playlist.
The
So
one thing
it's gonna happen.
that I ask for you to do, make sure you play it with headphones. It reminds you when you first load up the game, but you have to play these with headphones. It makes the experience in a lot of ways.
Okay.
But yeah, let me know
right.
when you play it.
Say
Can't wait to
less.
talk about
Okay. All right, my number one. So outside of this, like, I had three other games that got 10 out of 10. So this is another 10 out of 10 game to me, but I had three whole games just sitting on the wayside, just chilling, not getting the love that they deserve. And
You can shout them out.
It.
You can shout them out.
I'll shout them out afterwards.
Okay.
But in my mind, I knew these three had to be in. Like, when I was figuring out my three, I knew they had to be these three. I didn't know the order.
Just didn't know the
until
order.
I literally was I was eating dinner like an hour before we were supposed to record, and I was just thinking about, okay, what's the order? Like, what order am I putting this in? And I was thinking about like what really defines my year and what I'll be thinking about when I think back to this year. And that's when I came up with the order that I did.
Absolutely.
Because this one is something that took me by surprise, and it's the one that I've played the most out of every game, and that is Balatro.
Gosh. Oh my
this
god!
Is
Bravo, knew it.
The poker
I knew it.
roguelite. This is something that I had no idea even existed. I don't even remember seeing a trailer, and even if I did see a trailer, I would not be into this. Like, this is, when I say Pokemon roguelite, that doesn't sound fun to me. Like, I don't.
You said Pokemon roguelite. You mean poker?
Sorry, poker.
I was like,
Poker.
Pokemon.
Oh, Pokemon roguelite.
I'm like,
That
give me a
sounds
Pokemon roguelite, okay?
Poker roguelite does not sound fun to me. Like, still, like, that is not, like, I'm not a deck building person.
Yeah.
Like, Slay the Spire, I fumbled around and beat that game, but like, it's not,
Love that game.
it's not in my wheelhouse generally.
Yeah.
Roguelites, I enjoy roguelites, but it really depends on if I like the gameplay. I am not a huge gambler. I am not a huge poker person. But something happened. The zeitgeist happened. I was like, oh, that's only $15-$20, something. Picked it up, played it, kept playing it. I fell in love with this game. Like, this is a game that was made for the Portal. This is a game that I have spent 140 hours at this point on this year. Easily one of the highest games that I've played. It will be like, when you do your PlayStation in review for the year, it was like, hey, this is your number one, but it still didn't meet. And it was Persona 5 Royal, because Persona 5 Royal, I have like 150 some hours from when I played it a little bit, and then took some time off and then restarted it and got it all the way to 150 some hours. Next year, it will be talking about Balatro, because I know I'm going to be playing this more and more. I think I would love to get the platinum one day. This is going to be a ton of years time trying to figure this out. And if they ever allow cross progression with mobile phone,
It's over.
Like, I've got it. Like, I've got it. I just need time, man.
Wait, is that on the plan? Like,
it's on their FAQs.
Okay.
Like, they're like, not at this time, but we're looking into it. And it's like, come on, man. It's only one guy.
Yeah.
His name's Local
That's
Thunk.
the craziest part
And
about this. Huh?
yeah, this was just like a side hustle for him, and he killed it. Like, it is so much fun. The Jokers are what make this game the best. It's
Yeah.
all about how much chips and how many base chips and the multiplier to it. And you get these Jokers, and that's what affects how many base chips you get and how much multiplier you get. And each of the decks, depending upon what color they are, what design they are, that's going to change how much the rules change. And it changes the game completely, like absolutely completely. One of the first decks that you can gold, so basically your chip color, that basically talks about like the difficulty level of it. Getting a gold deck means that you completed 100% at the hardest difficulty. The first one I did for that was a checker deck. And what is a checker deck? That basically changes from 4 suits to 2 suits, and that basically allows for flushes to be a lot easier. I was doing straight flushes and just like going ham on this deck. But that straight flush is super hard to do, and it would be really hard to do on any other deck. It changes your mindset of like which Jokers you're going after and which strat you're doing. And I just love thinking about it. I love thinking about it. I love watching it. Even with the 140 hours that I've played, there's probably another 50 hours, 30 to 50 hours. I've watched other people play this game. Like, this is a game that really took over my life this year. And I really, really enjoyed it.
So this has been on my radar for so long. And I just like never understood, because like you said, like you can explain it to someone and it just doesn't sound like it's game of the year vibes. So it sounds like you just have to play it. And so you
do just have to play it.
Between like the countless people that I know that play it and love this game, seeing it even nominated to be on the Game Awards Game of the Year, which is insane considering it's just one dev, like you said. And now you putting it Game of the Year, like I just at least have to try it at some point. So I definitely will be trying it. What do you feel like? Like, I feel like we've already talked about this in other episodes, so I won't like belabor the point, but like what makes this so addictive?
It's that definite one more deck.
Yeah.
One more try. One more go. Yeah. Because everything from the sound design to the look of the cards to the animation style to it to how snappy the cards actually go, and you can increase the speed. All of this is built in a way to just drain all the endorphins and just blow them up. It just blows them up. Because you know what? Now they've even expanded it, because when I played it a little bit again, now when you get such a good deck that you meet the goal to like your goal chip count to get to the next level, if you have something like that, usually it was just like it would have like a little fire animation that would happen with your deck to let you know, oh, you've got a great deck, like you're gonna get this in one go. Now it like rumbles everything. Like the bass on my soundbar was going wild because they're just upping the game. It's just one of those things where as you're going, you don't unlock all the Jokers at a time, so it's a lot of discovery of, oh wow, like I don't know what Jokers are out there. So the more you play, the more you realize, and once you see a Joker that's new, you're like, that would really, really pair well with this other Joker I found 15 hours ago. And so you start making these simple connections of some of the Jokers are designed specifically for other Jokers, and it makes it really easy to think about strats. So it makes you feel kind of smart too, because it's not always going to happen. It's RNG. Like you might never find that other Joker that will make your run the gold run, but maybe you will. Maybe you just open that pack to see if it's there. And it's just very addictive. Very, very good. He's got the secret sauce, and I'm very, very excited about it. The one cool thing about it is they've been doing a lot of free updates. And so for each of the different suits, you can change the face cards, because he's done like different collaborations with different games.
Oh.
So he's done like Dave the Diver.
Yeah.
So mine currently are The Witcher. So
that's cool.
It's Geralt, Yennefer, and the guy that sings the song. I forget what his name is. It's just like losing me.
Dandelion.
Yes, Dandelion. So it's those three. Slay the Spire is one, so it has the different fighters as
Oh,
the king, queen, and jack.
yeah.
I also have Enter the Gungeon because I really enjoyed that game as another one. But it's just really cool. Like it's just like a weird flavor text that is not super needed, but it just adds another fun flavor to it. Really, really enjoyed it. I will continue to play it. It'll be one of those games that I never delete from my PlayStation, and I'll just tick away at these golden decks.
So Balatro showed up on my PlayStation Wrapped because it was
Nice.
my number 4 like most played game, because I'm looking at the stats now, and you were kind of like really hyping it up, and I was like, I'm gonna buy it right now. So in May I played Balatro for like 16 hours.
Love
So that is a lot for my gaming year. Like, and I had a good time. Honestly, when I booted up my Portal, Balatro was the first game that
makes
I
sense.
turned
Oh, it's
on,
made for
like
it.
that I played, and it's a good time. It's really tough for me though. Like, I had a very hard time. Alex had like beat each deck once by the time I beat like one deck once, and I was like, dang, I'm just not that good at this. But I did, obviously, like, I played for 16 hours. Like, I was like, one more. Also, I kept having to look up, I still don't know the poker hands. So I kept having to like kind of look that up. But otherwise, like, I had a fun time playing Balatro. I can
Yeah.
see why some people loved it so much and why you love it so much.
It's a great one. Definitely check it out. Yeah, sir, if you do play it, go to your options and increase the speed all the way to max. Because if
Yeah.
not, it'll just be like, G, 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 and it's just like, it will,
Well,
your playtime will get bloated. Just like, and go.
I appreciate that bit
because
of advice.
it's
I was
perfect.
actually going to ask you
Yeah.
for one other bit of advice, because you mentioned the mobile version. Would you say like
Yes.
that's the version to go for, or like, what do you think?
I've not purchased it. I've heard it's great.
Okay.
I am not purchasing it until they have
Yeah,
cross progression because I don't want to restart.
right.
Because I literally have gotten everything in this game. The only thing that I need to do, I've gotten all the challenges, I've gotten all the cards, like all the jokers. I've done everything except for get gold stickers on all the jokers, which is the hardest trophy to get. So
Mhm.
that basically means you have to beat a hardest difficulty deck with each of the joker, and there's 150 of them, which is a lot. And then beat all the decks on the hardest difficulty. I've done that for 5 of the decks, which is a lot. Like, I've done like 5 of the 15, but I've put way too many. I'm not going to get mobile, but I would say if you're interested, there supposedly you can unlock all the jokers at the very beginning if you wanted to go that route. He did that for mobile for people, so they didn't have to just like start brand new from scratch.
I see.
We also own it on
Oh.
PlayStation if you wanted it for free.
Yeah, it just seems like a game that, like the gameplay fits so well with like a mobile device, right?
And that's why I say that platinum will be over if they ever do cross progression. Like, it'll be done. It'll be done. My productivity will also be done, but it will be done.
Yeah, we actually have a friend that was on vacation in another country and got the mobile Balatro game.
Oh, nice.
Because one of her friends was playing it, and she's like, "What are you playing?" And he's like, "Oh, let me just show you." And then so she just downloaded it, and next thing you know, she's like, "Tiffany, I'm obsessed with this game called
Yeah.
Balatro."
Like, how's your
It's so
vacation?
good.
What?
Yeah.
What? I was in Balachi the whole time. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It did win Best Indie Game Debut, and Best Mobile Game at the Game Awards. So definitely got its flowers.
And again, nominated.
Super
for Game
happy
of the
for
Year,
this
which is
guy.
insane.
And get nominated for Game of the Year. So huge deal for the dev of one. So big deal.
Did we
All
wrap
right, let's
up?
do some honorable mentions.
Okay, yeah. Honorable mention time.
Yeah. I'll shout out mine because I've been alluding to them. A lot of these are actually games from the past. But the Last of Us Part 1 and 2, the first 10 out of 10 games I played this year, I think both of them are near perfect masterpieces. I've talked about them a bunch on the pod with Yas. Check them out on our peer review. Fantastic. But one that barely missed the cut. One of my favorite FromSoft games now, Bloodborne. I played it all in
I was
October,
expecting that to be on your
and
list.
it was
I
it
thought
was
gonna
so
be number
close.
one.
I thought so too.
It was so close. It's a very special game, and I loved it. Would highly recommend it to everybody. But it was one of those things where that was the last one out, and it was very close between that and Rebirth. So
You can go in reverse
Shout out
order.
to
I'll go
them.
into honorable mentions next.
let's do it.
Honestly, it goes in like reverse order as far as like how difficult each pick was. For single player, it was definitely very difficult. I had like Alan Wake in the consideration. Dead Cells that I talked
Oh,
about was
man,
in
so good.
consideration.
Yep.
And honestly, I had a great time with Cyberpunk replaying it. So that was at least in the conversation as well. Co-op experience, that was the hardest one. Like that was the one that like I really thought about it for a long time before I decided on Grounded. Helldivers 2 was definitely up there. Like I almost picked Helldivers 2, to be honest with you. Same with Pal World, which was a game that came out this year somehow.
Oh, I forgot that came out.
Yeah. I feel like all we talk about with Pal World now is copyright shit and not the actual game.
Yeah.
But then also Dark Souls was very high on that list too. I had such a great time
yeah.
playing that as like a cooperative experience that I really did want to add it on there, but it didn't quite make it. The PvP ones, honestly, I didn't play as many PvP this year, so really the only other one was Dead by Daylight, which I always talk about. But
Perfect.
it just didn't make as much sense to include that in this one because like that's a game that I'm slowly like breaking the habit of. The addiction is like slowly going down, while Black Ops 6 was like a new thing that came out, so it was an obvious choice, I think, for the PvP. All right, Alex, what do you have for us?
Of course, I have to shout out honorable mention Gotham Knights. No, I
I was
wanna-
literally about to be
man.
like, gross.
I want to shout out Gotham Knights. Don't play this game. This is a recommendation to
Dang.
not play Gotham Knights.
I
Oh
had
my
such a
gosh.
sad time playing.
Why
that
was it
game,
so bad? I don't
Alex.
understand. Like, the
Honorable
concept is so
mentions.
good.
I am
right? Like
warning
what
all
happened?
of you. Yeah, I think so. Two things. One, it is locked 30 FPS, so that's not
rough.
great,
Yeah.
especially for an action game.
Mhm.
And two, despite there being 4 people in the Bat family, it's only 2-player co-op.
So like
it
3 players total,
feels-
right?
No.
Oh, it's
No, it's
2 players
2-player
total.
co-op.
Oh, I thought it was 3.
Yeah, 2 players
Oh,
total.
okay.
Oh.
No.
Interesting.
I think they did release a mode.
I guess that's why we didn't get an invite, Yasser.
they released it. They released an end game mode where it is 4 people, I believe, but it's
Interesting.
not. It's optional. And we never got that far.
And it's only
I
end
did
game?
get the platinum in the game.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's only late game, and you have to like do almost everything to get there. Like, there's no way to shortcut it.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
No more dishonorable mentions.
So yeah, I just want to
Some
shout
honorable
that out.
mentions.
Don't do that. I mean, I want to make sure we have something to forewarn the people. Don't play
Oh
this
my
2-year-old
gosh.
game. I can confirm it is not great. Yeah, honorable mentions. Seriously, a lot of the card games I played this year. So Balatro is included in that list.
Nice.
I definitely was not super enthused. And with Tiffany getting it, though, and being able to play it right the same way as Yasser might be able to play is just via the game sharing, I gave it a shot. And I do understand your addiction to it. I do think that there is a lot there in its simple gameplay loop that can get you playing for 140 plus hours. God knows, I feel like if it was a lighter year in games for me, I probably would have put more time into it as well, because I think it falls into that niche of I like card games, and it is a card game, but it's also like card game adjacent, because it's not like, right, it's not a battling card game, it's just kind of this solitaire, like, right, even though it's poker, so poker rogue like solitaire but single player. And so it's definitely up there, and I just want to bunch it in with the other card games because I really got into just card games in general. You know, Pokemon TCG Pocket came out. I was never one to be into the Pokemon TCG at all, but when Pocket came out, it gave me a lot to understand how to play the Pokemon card game in actuality. So I'm now playing the full Pokemon card game, Pokemon TCG Live. And so it
Oh.
wasn't good
Yeah.
enough to make my top 3, but it is something I do want to shout out because honestly, it does a great job, right? Emulating all of the rules of the base Pokemon TCG. It showed me a lot of things where I really didn't even understand because Pokemon Pocket is still very light on the rule set, and you get the
Mhm.
full rule set in Live. And so it just opened my eyes to be like, oh, this is how you play Pokemon. I now understand what the energy cards are used for.
Yes.
Right? Because when you're a kid, when I was a kid, I look at
I was
these, I'm like, what is this orb with the symbol on it? Like, what's the
Yeah.
point
Nobody
of
wanted
this?
that
Like,
shit.
this
Yeah.
is, this
Yeah.
isn't even in the actual
Game.
Pokemon game,
Yeah.
so I didn't have like an analog to understand this if I knew how to play Pokemon. So yeah, shout out to Live. I really like it. They actually just updated their monetization where it's now there's nothing you can pay for in the game besides real packs.
Wait,
So when you
what?
buy a real pack, you get a code you can then enter in the game and you'll get the equivalent of that code in game. So
Really?
if you buy you buy
Yes.
like a Pokemon booster pack and you enter that code in on Live, you get a booster pack.
So you're saying you can't
Um,
buy like
oh.
a time speed up?
Yeah, so
No.
they just updated the monetization. There's no
Interesting.
microtransactions anymore. You can't even buy the battle pass. It's just one free
battle
paid
pass.
pass. Yeah. And so I do think now is the time if you're interested in the TCG at all, check out Live. It's very player friendly. You don't have to buy any of the physical product. That's just an incentive to say you can
Oh, this is
basically
the other
double
game.
down. Yeah,
TCG
the
Live.
live version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Those things
it's
are all
not
there
Pocket.
on Pocket still.
Well,
Yes.
not.
No, there's
well,
microtransactions in Pocket, and you can pay to
Oh.
get
Yeah.
boosters in Pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I got confused.
But I'm
for a second.
saying like this is the actual card game,
Gotcha,
but in
gotcha.
digital format.
I see.
And
Mhm.
likewise, shout out to MTG Arena, Magic at the Gathering Arena. I really like it. Magic is also another card game that's very, I feel like, hard to get into, especially with how old it is. And I feel like MTG Arena also does a very good job in automating the rule set. I will like to say it's not great at onboarding. It does kind of expect you to know some things about Magic in general, so I wouldn't go into it blindly. But in case you're interested at all and don't want to buy any physical cards, it's a very nice, easy, free-to-play product to play. And then also on top of that, just Hearthstone continues to be great for me. Marvel Snap continues to be fun to play. So
Big card guy.
it's just card games in general. It's been a good
Yeah.
Big
it's
card
been a
guy.
good year. And then also I want to shout out, and it's a game I mentioned before earlier in the year, Unicorn Overlord. This is a great console-based RTS RPG. And I think if you're someone that's a little bit hesitant to get into RTSs and you want something a little bit more simplistic, try Unicorn Overlord. This is developed by Vanillaware. I played all their, in a previous episode I mentioned I ended up playing all of their games this year. And I do think Unicorn Overlord is the best of them in terms of all the gameplay systems and mechanics and its storytelling in terms of it being a more traditional fantasy story. So I do want to shout that out because I feel like, this is a year of when you want to have fun with something, it's one of those games that kind of helps remove a lot of the barriers to entry and simplifies things enough to just get you into the action as soon as possible. So I want to give them their praise as well.
So my honorable mentions are pretty small, but I want to shout out. I also played Crisis Core earlier this
Nice.
year. I was like, I need to finish this before I can go into Rebirth. And Crisis Core just kind of hit a groove for me where, going to do a mission. And I actually was like powering through audiobooks when I was
Oh,
playing,
nice. Yeah.
doing the mission. Because like I could just, battle it out and like listen to my story. And then Mario Party Jamboree. It's a
I was wondering
fun
if that was going
time.
to come up because I thought that was
Oh.
going to be in your top three,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah, I really like that game and it's a good time. And honestly, it's like I think it's a very good Mario Party, entry. And I would recommend it. I didn't feel like I could put that really in my top 3 because I didn't put as many
You haven't
hours
just
into
played it
that.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but I had a great time.
Listen, if you guys ever want to play that, I'm always down. I'll buy it.
Did you get a copy?
I'll
Oh,
buy it.
oh, okay. Oh, you'll buy it. Okay.
What a
What a
good
year.
year.
Yeah.
What
year,
a
honestly.
year. 2024. 2025 could be it. Even if I guess just GTA 6 comes out
No,
and
it's
everybody
the
else
year of
moves
the
to
Silk Song,
2026.
Matt. It's the year of the
Oh,
Silk Song.
Alex,
Oh
what
my
are you
gosh.
doing?
This,
Yeah.
this is the year. Or it could be the year Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out.
No,
You
I would
never
die.
know.
I would
Absolutely
die.
not.
And on this episode of Dreaming, that's it for this episode. What a great year. Fantastic. Love hearing about everybody. I actually wrote down everything you guys said because I'm pretty interested in some of the things you guys talked about because the cool thing about it is there is some overlap, like Astrobot, but a lot of the things...
That was the one overlap, right?
I know.
That was the only
I know.
one,
I'm
which is
pretty
really cool.
impressed.
Yeah.
Everything else, like we all have different flavors, different things we're interested in, so it makes out for a good podcast. So that is it for this episode. We will be all about 2025 in the future, starting on some of the next episodes, so stay tuned to that. If you want to hear our takes on non-gaming things, check out our last podcast. But we will see you next time. Thank you, Grandmaster Doug, for the tunes. Hit us up with anything else on our socials, and we will see you next time.